come is gonna get you.
Original creation that was created.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Something that is just tickling me, giving me such pleasure. When you look at it as a star, and then I was in the Smithsonian the other day, and there was a statement that said, we are all made of stardust.
Yes.
And so that just brings it right home. And then you stated in a temporary form. So we're constantly changing. And you just illustrated it.
Yeah.
Very delightful.
Something very
Stardust,
simple like
yes.
that. I remember the series that Carl Sagan gave. Remember the scientists that had the solar system on the TV? I'd love to run that again. I guess you could probably get it. I'll have to look and see if Netflix has that. But anyway, he'd say, we're all made of stardust. Of course, I had no idea at the time when he was doing that what he was talking about. Okay, I discovered this like 40-something years ago, but I didn't begin to have the depth of understanding that I have now. Because as you think on it, as you live it, it awakens you more and more and more, which makes me feel so glad and sure that we are evolving, that we are awakening every moment, that we are knowing more, being more, and we are really coming into our awareness of eternal life without the interruption of death. That's what we're moving towards. Now then on the next page, on 27, you see some triangles, which are different ways that can be expressed. And I already told you the one, mind, idea, and expression. And we won't take the time to go through those. Those are pretty simple. On page 28, I just say there in that last paragraph, suddenly I realized when I discovered this much why Jesus said, be ye perfect as your Father in heaven already is perfect. Because he knew that we could awaken to our perfection, that we were not separate from God, that we were God, and we were all together where? In mind or consciousness. Right. All right. So the next chapter then is entitled, What Mind Images Produces Form. Now then, remember that this triangle is an immutable law. Nobody escapes the law. In other words, the law is what you hold in mind as an idea of life will be, not might be, may be, or sometimes, but will be expressed. Now, how can we be assured of that? And I've found over the years, the more that I thought about the movement and the vibratory frequency, I realized that what you are thinking, and Charles Fillmore in Unity has taught us that thoughts are energy. Theosophy teaches that thoughts are energy. The Rosicrucians teaches that thoughts are energy. We could go on and on and on. So what is energy but moving vibrating frequencies. So whatever thought and feeling, which we're going to get into in a little bit, that you put into or are magnetized into your potential vehicle, substance, form, is what's going to be expressed. And that is going to have the same vibration as that which it originated back here. So you got this vibration that, oh, I'm not worthy. I don't think I can do that job. I'm scared that if they hire me, I won't be able to do it. That's a vibration you are sending out. And what is going to happen?
It's going to be.
It's going to come right back to you in the same vibratory pattern. You may get the job, but you're going to be stressed out believing that you can't do it, and maybe you won't be able to do it because you are sunk in that vibration.
Isn't that when Jesus said, I and the Father are one?
I and the Father are one. That creative force is vibrating whatever you hold as an idea of life. Now, we hold an idea of life as growing old. I can testify to that. We have an idea of death. We're going to talk about that in the book too. And whatever idea we hold in mind must happen.
Must happen.
So that's why we're still dying, folks. Once we catch on to what Jesus really told us, that we can transform this body into a body of light and go by death. Death means nothing, that it's not real, it is only a belief. Then we will no longer have to delay our evolution by going through the process of death and then getting another body and coming back again and again and again. So we're getting near. The minute we can get the idea and an image of ourselves as something different, then we are well on the road. And that's, the more we think about it, the more it becomes us. And that's where we are. Now then, God created this principle now that is an immutable law. No matter who you are, whether you're rich or poor, what country you're from, what race you're in, or anything else, you are going to answer to this law. And it's a good law. It's not a law to say, oh, woe is me, I can't escape the law. We should say, hallelujah. All I have to do is start thinking positively and realize my real potential, and there's nothing that I can't do or be. And it's a matter of retraining ourselves so that we can train the mind, the thought, and the feeling into practicing that. And that is a lifetime practice, and probably many lifetimes. But we have reached a place on the cosmic clock now where we are being helped tremendously, but we can't go into that right now. Now, the next sentence. And God saw, look at the word saw, the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. The key word here is saw. This is an imaging process. As you go through the Bible, you will see that the great prophets and teachers in the Bible represent a faculty or a quality that every individual is developing. The first one is faith, which is represented by Abraham, who believes in only one God. Now, we can make a God out of money, out of celebrity, out of riches, our achievements, or our own talents, or another person. But there is, in reality, only one God. And where is that God?
In mind.
And
And
consciousness.
consciousness.
Right here,
In
in our consciousness. And this consciousness spreads out all around us. And it's vibrating energy. Okay. So now then, God is going to divide this imaging process of light from the imaging process of dark. Now, the two opposites then are what is needed to make form or to create, but we must realize that it's happening in mind, and that what we see as separateness, God over here or up there and us here, hoping for the best, is an illusion. It is an illusion. It is not reality. The reality is that we have God power. And when we first hear that, it is shocking. And in a way, it's scary because we don't know what to do with that kind of power. I have God power? Please. No, I'm not ready, is what we say. I'm not deserving. I can't handle it, you know? But nevertheless, anything less than that is an illusion. So let's look at figure 8 on page 35. And we see how God divides the light from the darkness. Remember that it's shaded in the Star of David here, the inverted triangle. But there is an interaction now of the two complements, and they begin to spin as movement comes. So in the process of moving and this energy going around, we get these big circles. It's like throwing a pebble in a pond. You're going to get this movement of the waters, right?
Right.
And so we see the waters, and we see that they contact each other, and we have the two different ways that the waters are going in spherical form. And we're going to come back to this a lot when we get into our hologram illustration. Now then, it's kind of interesting to me, though, if you look at this drawing, you see that the circles are going. We have circle going this way, and then the bottom of the circle goes this way, right? Now then, if we extend it out a little bit, we have the eye. We have, because of the inversion, we have convex and concave circles. Now then, if you decided that you wanted to, we're going to talk more about this in a little bit. We're going to get the triangle, and if we had another side to the triangle, and then we had another triangle behind that and another one on the other side, we would have 4 sides to that triangle. And we would have 4 corners. And this is going to be the 4 that comes out of the triangle, and we're going to talk about that as it shows us in the scripture what those 4 are. And if you wanted to place the eye here, you could have that in the capstone, and that's on your dollar bill. This is the all-seeing eye that is in the center of the triangle that is moving energy in these different directions. And this is the movement of God breath. God is breathing through this triangle. On page 37, we have a very familiar symbol which shows the light in the dark. This is the Far Eastern symbol, and the dark in the light. They seem to be separated, but yet one is in the other, and then the other is in the one. So it depends on where you're looking out from. If you're looking out from the light, you're more positive. If you're looking out from the dark, you're probably getting ready to image something in the light, let's hope. Okay, now then, the sentence on the next page, number 38. This triangle is all that God created. Did God create the trees?
Mm-hmm. All the 3 created itself.
God did,
Yes.
but God didn't. You see? It's a dilemma how to answer that question. Did God create the animals? Where is God?
And consciousness.
And the consciousness.
Consciousness.
Yes.
And we have consciousness in that consciousness. So then who really created
What?
the earth, the planets, the animals, the trees, the mountains, the rivers?
Consciousness.
How did God create them?
Like the triangle wants to reflect itself.
You gotta speak up. We can't hear you.
Like the triangle you were showing that reflecting itself
Where is this triangle?
in the mind,
In whose
in the
mind?
consciousness of the
It's in your mind.
oh,
What are you? Remember we were
We're
saying the other
creators.
day, we are not squares.
We are triangles.
We are not circles. We are not a rectangle. We are a triangle. And you're going to see how your very own body is a triangle. You will see how a tree is a triangle. Everything is a triangle. I remember seeing on the YouTube fractal mathematics, how they took a mountain and just made it 100 triangles. It's just nothing but 100 triangles of all different shapes put together. We're going to talk more about that a little bit later. But where is this triangle? Don't forget,
in the mind.
it's mind. And where do you live?
In the mind.
In mind or in consciousness. Where can you go to be without mind?
You cannot.
You cannot.
I'm going to move somewhere. Am I going to take mind with me?
So there
You
is
bet
no-
I am. There's no escape.
There is no beginning or end.
There's no
Just-
beginning or end. This is this circle in the middle of the eye. It has the light and the dark. It has the movement. It has the duality, the polarity of the radiation and the magnetism and the power source. And that is me. And you, and you, and you. Every one of us, that's what we are. We are a living expression of the triangle in this dimension. Now we are moving into the fourth and fifth and sixth dimension. So this is why we have some understanding of what we are. Before, we had no idea. We loved God. We who were brought up in Christianity loved Jesus. But we thought that Jesus was the only one that was divine or was a triangle. We didn't know what a triangle was. But we all are that triangle, and that's why Jesus said, "It is the Father within me that does the work," not this personality, not this body, but it is this principle that is the creator. And I know my Father, and I know my Father's will. And my Father's commandment is everlasting life. That's what he told them in the temple. Now then, so he came to demonstrate that, and we're not going to have time to get into that today, but it's wonderful. Now then, we're going to take a moment out now and talk about something that science has discovered, started way back in the 1920s, and that is quantum physics or quantum mechanics. Now, in quantum mechanics, we see that there are waves and there are particles. And they discovered that they cannot see the wave and the particle at the same time. Now, Einstein said that we can always know where the particle is going to be, because the particle is the potential for form. It's what you build the particles together and make molecular structures and on and on and on and make form in the material world. But quantum physics showed that the particle kept popping up in some place that they had no idea it was going to pop up in. For instance, if they had a ladder and they had a wave that was coming here, they would expect it to show up, according to the old way of thinking, at a certain destination, maybe here. The particle would show up as a particle. But they could never predict where the particle was going to show up. It would show up in the most odd places. So they decided that the wave represented the idea, current, or the vibratory frequency that would produce a particle which would become form. It was the potential for the form. And they discovered that whenever they measured what they saw, in other words, they observed it, and once they observed it, it changed the destiny of the particle. In other words, it influenced the wave motion, and actually the wave collapses when they measured it. In other words, when they observed it, the wave collapsed and out pops the particle. So when we have an idea, which is the wave, and we look at that idea through an image, say we have an idea to build a house.
Okay.
And we picture that house into an image, it is going to pop out as a particle which will go to building that house. If we have a wave idea of being ill, the wave collapses and we catch a really bad flu and we're home for 2 weeks in bed, or maybe something else. So we say that we create our own circumstances, and that is very hard for us to accept. But I say, don't feel guilty, because we are one with the living principle, and every human being on the planet and in the solar system is one with us. Therefore, we are influenced by the thought stream, first of our companion, our partner, our children, our family, our community, our city, our nation, our global position. We are tied into the thought stream of all of humanity that is on the planet Earth now. So when we say we create our own circumstances, don't feel bad if you get sick and get the flu, that you are guilty. You probably had a lowering of your consciousness through stress or too much activity or something that caused you to be vulnerable, but it doesn't mean that you deliberately wished yourself to be sick.
But also, when we hear on the news,
Oh my, yes.
which will affect our thought, and if we haven't built that thought not to be that,
Yes.
we will absorb that energy.
Well, and what would you say is the most advertised thing on television today?
Illness.
Pills to take to prevent this.
Yes.
Constant. It's feeding people with ideas of being ill. And it's selling the pharmaceutical products. You can sit and watch television for an hour and you might get 7 or 8 commercials about medications.
There was a study that 70% of the population's on prescription drugs right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. And we then think, oh, well, I have that condition. Or we don't think, I'm going to go to my source and I'm going to see that I am free of that and feel how it is to be free of it and get free of it. See, and I think that's what the Aquarian Age is all about. The Aquarian Age now, we have left the Piscean Age, which was the age of sacrifice for the whole, which Jesus demonstrated. And now we have been working on that for 2,000 years, on love and sacrifice and goodwill and harmony through the teachings of all the religions of the world, and us particular in the Christianity. And now it has come, well, prove it. If you believe in everlasting life, if you believe in the perfection of your Father, which is in heaven, which is an idea that lives in mind where you are living and you cannot escape from it, then demonstrate it. So I think that's where we are, and we're going to have 2,500 years here to learn how to bring it forth. But those of us that are already on the path, it is up to us now to be leaders, to help people to understand that it is the vibratory pattern of their thought and feeling that is bringing things and bringing them into expression, and they can change the image that they have of themselves and circumstances. And boy, we've really got a test when television is just bombarded with all kinds of violence, and the news is not the happiest of news. This is our testing time, folks. So remember who you are. And do not send out thoughts of condemnation and criticism for even that which seems evil. Send out blessings. Send out peace and love and that which lifts and heals and brings together.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have been pleased to see that some of the newscasts are now including nice little vignettes at the end.
Yes, the philosophical viewpoints.
Or good, nice things that have happened.
Yes, And I do think that we're seeing more of that. And we're seeing more of people demanding apologies for insulting people and saying things that used to just be considered okay. It no longer is okay.
It's okay,
It is
no.
not acceptable. And I think that we are learning to respect each other in those ways. So anyway, but back to quantum physics, they realized that they could not see the wave and the particle at the same time. Now then, so it means that only when we look at something is it really an electron or a particle, or is it a wave? Is it the idea? Now, before, we have always been taught to look at the appearance and never look at the idea behind the appearance. Now we are being challenged by quantum physics. Look behind the appearance or the particle or electron and see what caused it. What is the idea that caused it? And then get the idea out of the dark into the light. And every one of us can help to bring the light more and more every day simply by doing that. Right? Okay. So, once I understood how the physicists were discovering the self-reflective or mirrored image power of mind, using the mind, we cause the substance that receives our idea or image to vibrate at a certain frequency. I'm reading from page 41. This dictates how the idea will be shaped and how much light it will emit. Quantum physics affirms the Genesis law. So it seemed possible to me then that since our bodies contain trillions of atoms, all vibrating, all emitting light energy, we can jump from one rung of the ladder or one orbit to another or another sphere of mind thought as we choose. Genesis shows us that there are at least 7 spheres in which we can choose to participate. Right now, we are choosing or have been trapped like in a box in the 3rd dimension. But we are coming out of that, or really, I think we've come out of it. Time is going so rapidly that I think what we're coming closer to now is the now. We're going to eliminate this idea of time. The only reason we have time is because we have to get from one place to another.
Isn't that what Jesus said? Not the future, not the past, but now.
Yeah, but live in the now. Don't look to the past. Don't want to bring the past back. Don't look to the future. Just live in the now. And I think, honestly, time is going so speedily that we must be getting closer and closer in our consciousness to begin to realize that we don't have to wait to bring something forth. As Jesus could do, he could bring forth the loaf and the fishes right then and there. See, that's what we're supposed to learn how to do. Bring forth life. Lazarus, rise. So this is the age of learning to do it. We've been thinking about it for thousands of years, and now we have got to practice doing it. Now, the
Could
key
you say
is,
could you say something just a little bit more about looking behind the wave to see what the idea is?
well, I call an idea a wave.
Okay.
A wavelet, or it's moving. It's not formed, so it is the wave.
Okay.
And then when you look at it or have an image of it, and see, we have the ability to image. Our brain images, and we're going to talk about the brain in a little bit. The brain images that. And then once you do that, it collapses the wave and it goes into a particle. And then you see the particle, but you can't find the wave. But when you're looking at the wave as an image, you see that and you can't see the particle. That's what they're saying. They call it measuring it, but it means observing it. So if you have an idea in your mind, you make an image of it, and then you keep concentrating on that image of it, it will change into an actual visible participant for whatever you are going to manifest.